So I have this USB flash drive and I want to format it. So let's go ahead and see how we can do it in Ubuntu 22.04. Let's start by plugging it in. And we can see its contents. Make sure that you don't have anything important there, because we're going to wipe everything out. So to actually format it, we're going to use the disks utility. So let's open disks. And here we can see a list of all of the disks that we currently have on our system. Usually the disk that we just plugged in will be the last one on the list, which means that in this case, this is the USB flash drive I just plugged in, and this is the disk that we want to format. The thing is that we have to be really careful with it and make sure that we don't accidentally format another disk. So one way to make sure that this is the correct disk is using its size. And as we can see here, its size is 250 gigabytes. And if we right click on it on the File Explorer and choose Properties, we can see that its total capacity is 250 gigabytes as well, and this is a good indication that this is the disk that we want to format. But let's take an additional measure of caution. So right now I have 3 disks over here, 256 gigabytes, 123 gigabytes, and 250 gigabytes. Let's now unmount the disk that I want to format. And as you can see, the list changed. And we now don't have the disk of 250 gigabytes over here, which means that indeed this is the disk that we want to format. So let's unplug it and plug it in again. And here we have it back on the list. So first, we're going to delete all of the partitions that are currently on it. And we're going to do it by clicking on the red minus button. If you have more than one partition on the disk, you'll have to delete all of them. And once we're done with that, we only have unallocated space. We now need to create a new partition on this disk. So let's click on the plus icon. And I'm only going to create one partition whose size is the entire size of the disk. We can give the disk a name, but this is not mandatory. You can do it if you want. Now, if you want to obliterate the data that's currently on the disk in a way that's really not recoverable, choose the Erase option. Notice, though, that it will take significantly more time, so I won't do it. And now we have to choose the file system. As you can see, we have 3 options: ext4, NTFS, and FAT. ext4 is considered the fastest option, but it's only supported on Linux system, which means that if you want to share files with a Windows machine, that's probably not what you want to choose. NTFS, which is the second option, is supported both on Windows and on Linux. It's a bit slower than ext4, but from my experience, the difference is really not too big. So if you do use Windows as well as Linux, this is probably a good option. You can also go with FAT, but I wouldn't recommend it for most people. First, it's a bit slower than the other 2 options, and on top of that, it doesn't support files that are bigger than 4 gigabytes. So if you intend to use files that are bigger than 4 gigabytes, this option is not even on the table. Anyway, since I mostly use Linux, I'll go with the first option, which is ext4. And let's create the volume on our partition. And it's been created. And it's done, and it took about a minute or 2. So we're done with disks. Let's close it. And let's mount our USB flash drive again. And as you can see, it's now completely empty and ready to use.